I wrote this little picture book called Tao and the Art of Nervous System Regulation. I now contemplate resonance, but I want to read some of it to you. And this has some amazing practices in it as well that help you become a resonator, like a conductor or a choreographer or a composer. So the just to orient your eyes to this little booklet that I wrote, this chart here that looks like a weird human, I call it the bean, Bean. This is one whole ass human bound to the gravity of Earth with a nervous system. Nervous system is illustrated here for you as a matrix, because I know we love matrices. Everybody loves a matrix. This matrix is the matrix of the I Ching. And then you can put anything you want on the matrix because it's yours. But there are some things that every human has. Chinese medicine is very kind about that. What Chinese medicine says, besides the Darla, is that every human has a Shen. And so I made a variation of one. I made an artwork. And these Shen, this is the basis for all the characters you're going to meet today. What the Shen do, Shen are the magical mysticals. Okay, they're the magical mysticals. Sometimes what they do is actually definable and understandable with the technology that we have. Sometimes what they do might as well be like gods or magic. Yeah, it's true. The Shen are the magical mysticals. So if I'm a doctor in Chinese medicine as opposed to a metaphysician, which is probably as close to medicine as you will ever get me, I am going to be, when I put the needle in your skin, this is where the needle is sending the Shen. This is the chart of the inner landscape from Chinese medicine. Bean, human being. Something magical, mystical is going to happen in your brain when you say human being or the bean, and you're relating being to human. And what they're looking for us for is something called homeostasis, why music moves the emotions. Music soothes the savage beast. Music goes and communicates without language or without words. And rhythm, this is the love dove of the heart that you're hearing when you're gestating in the whatever that is that we grow up in, placenta. So homeostasis, my rendering of homeostasis is just this like beautiful, infinite, like a six-sided geometry. And one thing I would encourage you to do is know that this kind of perfected state is not possible in a conscious way and then to sustain it. This kind of perfect state is the perfect state that our cells are looking for with whatever they do, the osmosis, this perfect state is the state that our digestion is looking for, right? That we're eating food and it's not upsetting the tum-tum. These are not consistent, steady states. These are dynamic states. It's called a dynamic state. So homeostasis is experientially, it's like treading water. And that's really important because there's like all the ways that things can go in dimension. The homeostatic experience is pretty lateral. It's like towards the equator, towards the actual ground. So I invented a whole new amazing earth-shattering exercise you can do called Sense of Bum. SOB. The way that you practice sense of Bum, then I'll introduce you to the Shen. The way that you practice it is by having an ass and recognizing that you're on a surface. So if you'd like to join me, I just kind of rock back and forth. If you stim to like remember that you exist and then people tell you to stop moving, I'm going to say, not in this context. No, no. So sense of Bum. Maybe even like sitting back if you're sitting on something with a chair. And then it's just like a couple of breaths in through your nose and out of your mouth. And look anywhere you want. You can be as crabby as you are. You can hate everything that you hate. Eventually, with the settling on and the breathing, you might just start settling. So here's that yin and yang. I did it in blue. I think we're all familiar with it. The black and the white, the good and the bad, the up and the down, the inhale and the exhale, expanding and contracting, standing and sitting, leaning side to side, twisting side to side, looking, looking. It's like all the different ways we can relate to a thing when the thing is a piece of paper, 2 dimensions in the physics contemplation. You and I have to contemplate our emotions through 2D. We kind of have to because we are 3D. That means we need a trick. It means we need a trick. If I can only breathe in, breathe out, if I don't have some like hoverboard factor, like bumblebees have with their wings, if we have to be breathing all the time. Our blood has to be flowing all the time. If I stop breathing, if I forget to breathe for an afternoon, like I forget I have a body, I'm not existing anymore. So where other systems give us this idea of ether, China specific, I'm calling it the China. China very, very kindly gives us metal. Okay. And the way that elements work in Chinese medicine is very much the way that the elements are on the periodic table of elements. So we had sense of thumb just for remembering that we're real. This is my little $17 bathroom book you can get on my website. This is the metal element in Chinese medicine. It actually doesn't like exist in 3D, so I gave it to you in a book. The metal element in Chinese medicine equals our lungs. Metal equals breath. Metal. Ether, breath. Thank you, China. Do you know why? Because we have metallic components in our body, namely like iron in our blood, but also we are supposed to know the white and stick to the black. We're going to pretend like that's black right now. Know the white and stick to the black. The color of the metal element really, really is white. But most of us need to show it to you as gray or something because you won't be able to perceive it if I'm showing it to you on a white piece of paper. The black. Know the white and stick to the black. We have these amazing organs in our bodies that do this thing where they clean our blood. And like they do it whether or not we ask it to. We might not do a good job of remembering to finish the elimination. That's that experience of introception, of like understanding the signals coming up. But hello, kidneys are doing that anyway. So Zhu is but it is the water element. Okay, so it's positioned in your body and my body in our lower back, where our kidneys are in our low back. The color for the kidneys is blue or black. So if I am to know the white, but stick to the black, Is it possible I'm supposed to know the air, the atmosphere, the environment, but stick to the black, the liquidity of water, but also just water H2O, because H2O is the element. Okay. So the way water behaves when you and I are existing on planet Earth is very different than the way water behaves or other molecules behave. Water floats when it's frozen. It's densest in its fluid state. So our lungs are associated with the olfactory nerve. It's like the one sense that you only sense. Or in the black and white of this apparent opposite, you could also contemplate it as, am I going clockwise or counterclockwise? I don't know. Which way is the clock? Am I decreasing in complexity and going towards entropy, or am I increasing in complexity and starting to look like the patterns that those of us who are autistic recognize so often? And that or is not yes or no, because we have this flow between the yin and the yang probably is indicative of the tilt of the earth on its axis, but also the tilt of our brain in our skulls. So whether or not a thing is yin or yang, okay, we can just take metal out of it. Let's just think yin or yang. Whether or not something is yin or yang depends. Fully depends. 100%. What am I contemplating? Where is it? When is it? Is where or when even relevant? Is there a who involved? Do I need to contemplate that there's a whole other human or living entity in this contemplation of potential distinctions? Right? So, like, humans breathe air, fish breathe water, but we both consume oxygen to do so. Or like handedness, right hand, left hand. So if we can start expanding this idea of opposites, this idea of respiration, right, of breathing in and out with the Shen becomes like inner alchemy acupuncture. And I'm just telling you that's just a fact. The Zhu, this entity in our kidneys, and again, these are magical, mystical, they're like plasmoids. If what I understand of physics is accurate, because I don't understand the math, but if I understand it accurately, one way to contemplate these would be as plasmatic in nature, because the Shen can do anything against the laws of physics. The Shen are the way that we might contemplate something like generational trauma, like inherited trauma. My Shen in my kidneys is very, very flippin' exhausted. She's not such a good swimmer anymore. Okay. She had a big, long last 5 years, had a stroke, had stage 3 breast cancer, long COVID. I mean, it's been going on. All right. She is sitting on the beach relaxing. She's no longer helping my tissues do things like dance and hang off of ceilings in strange shapes. My body just can't do it anymore. So the kidneys are contemplated, not composed, contemplated as like the storehouse of the most essential essence of our life force, which is called Jing, Jing. Jing is our inner nest. Okay. When Jing feels threatened, when people discuss how when your nervous system feels threatened, la 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 la, this system positions that experience deep, deep in the body. The gate of life, that's where we experience fight, flight, freeze, fawn. At the base of us, not in our neck where our vagus nerve is. Vagus nerve doesn't have that awareness. Your central nervous system is the one that receives and transmits that awareness to the peripheral nervous system. And our kidneys, as water, are associated with our eyes as organs. That is the second cranial nerve. So the first one is your nose, the second one is your eyes. And the way that you tone the kidneys or tune the shen is with the sound chu. Chu. C-H-O. Chu. Chu. I'm just kind of like chilling out. Chu. Nice and easy. Sense of bump, remembering that you exist. After we're kidneying around, we go to the liver. Oh my goodness, friends, the Hun. This is one of the entities that Carl Jung brought back with him when he wrote whatever he wrote. The Hun, if you've ever heard of Hun and Po, like the visionary soul and the corporeal soul, that's Hun and Po. Po is lungs, Hun is liver. In between them, Mr. Jung, is your own flippant experience of life, which, by the way, occurs in shadow. Part of what I'm trying to do with my work is disrupt this myth that everybody believes, maybe not you, but most humans, that we have a shadow, that there's something wrong about it, and I can do work to understand my shadow. That is just from a neuroscience perspective, that's really flippin' obnoxious, but from an alchemy perspective and a dimensionality perspective, it's arrogant. The only way you and I can perceive more than three dimensions is when physicists show us what it looks like in a shadow. You and I get afraid of going into the woods when they're dark, when they are under shadow. Not because they're dangerous, because we have stories about shadow, shadowy figures in the night. I can't wait to see Nosferatu. But I'm just saying, shadow as like what do they call them? Like the boogeyman, like something you would like threaten children with. Oh, do your thing or the shadow will come. Chinese were like, that's not how they use shadow, by the way. Okay. The Shen, S-H-E-N, create the shadow because the Shen can be more than three dimensions. We need a lot of forgiveness, but hey, guess what? If you are a people pleaser like I am, you can forgive too much. Your liver is on the right side. So I love also this started on the back. Lungs are on the back. That's that S. Kidneys on the back. Liver on the front. Hun, corporeal. Hun has to do with time. And whether or not it's time dependent or not. There are some things that happen that are not dependent on time. Shock, I know. But he's very much about like, let's just remember the passage of time. So the Hun is also supporting our gallbladder, which stores bile and releases it during digestion so we can digest fats. Okay. But we tone and tune the liver itself. The sound is shh, just like you're asking someone to be quiet. Shh. I have a couple different cameras on me. So shh, And then you contemplate the Hun, and you'll see something different and new in the Hun every time. I do as well. Then we go to the heart, your actual beating muscle, which is the where we experience joy and hatred. The sound is ha, just like a sigh, like that. And you don't have to force it. And I learned to make these breaths sublingually, just like an inner wind going into my torso. So you could even do it quieter if you want. Ha. This Shen of the heart is like the ringleader of the Shen of the organs because she got her name Shen. So contemplate Shen also then as like a rank or like a category of things. So there's the Shen themselves that live in our organs that do the thing that help with the transfer of, I don't understand, whatever the organs are doing. They're related to our cranial nerves. Nice. There's also Shen. In Japan, I think it's called a kami. And these are it's not necessarily turning objects into being, it is contemplating objects as entity. In very much the same way, like an entity might govern something. Oh, I don't know, like your vagus nerve might govern certain parts of your body. That is a Shen quality. Okay. We don't attack the Shen. They already know what to do. We have to help them with the environment around them. First, easiest way to do that is with breathing. Ha. The mirrored. Our spleen is on the left side. Spleen is associated with your tum-tum, with all the oh my goodness and the IBS and the colitis and the experience of ostomy and farting and gut biome gets pretty close with the stomach here. Our lungs are associated with the large intestine and our heart with the small intestine. So they're like all involved, but the spleen is like very directly involved in digestion. It's also a very important object for our immune system. Bum, sense of bum, that is taking the sensory motor input, like all the input from our sense organs, and saying, oh, yes, I can use that to sense the base of me without having to like do weird things and, like kind of like give evidence that my butthole exists. I can just experience sitting on something. Exteroception. She does not have a sense of bum, okay? She thinks she's a bird. I'm a human. Another character I made, hello, sir. I was born with this brain. I was born a twin. La 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 la. Like some things cannot change. And if the what cannot change becomes bothersome enough, eventually parts of us will start to ignore it. I don't want to, I mean, it's just like what happens. I am not aware of how much pain I am in most of the time. However, when I'm avoiding my pain, when I'm avoiding the nociception, S-H-E-N, that means I'm also avoiding the body sensations. So the exercise that I put in with the nociception, S-H-E-N, is specifically for the facial nerve and the abducens nerves. And those are the nerves after the trigeminal nerve, the one that gives us all the pain. They also are the nerves of smiling. So the way you practice the healing smile and become a neuroscientist without having to remember those big words is you place the tip of your tongue on the ridge behind your upper teeth and smile. Smile with your sense of bum. The smile is for you. So I'm not really looking at anything. Bringing the tip of your tongue to the ridge behind your upper teeth. And then the back of the tongue is going to come up a bit. Our facial nerve is the one that gives us saliva. So this is also involved in the experience of stress. So it's a good thing to practice salivating. And then very simply, so we're going to smile to three zones: belly, heart, and head. The belly. I am smiling down to my belly. You can smile down to your belly too. You do not need to be touching it. You do not need to be in a perfect relationship with it. If this is like a lot, one thing you can do with these tools, you can smile to the Shen. That's the Shen. Let's call the Shen back. Come back to me, Shen. I'm sorry that you're having a hard day. Let's get it going together. I feel like I'm in an allied relationship with my own organs. Having a relationship to the Shen. Relating to the Shen as a provider, I believe helps me be more compassionate as well. Because if I'm contemplating this element and the entity, and you're in a state of anxiety, I've actually now given that state of anxiety of place, a place setting that's here and not just here. Because I'm tuning to what it is that you're describing in a way that is more structural and more metaphor. And I have found that that makes it easier for me to perceive other people's lived experiences. Neuroaffective somatics approach aim to address physical manifestations and support emotional well-being through biotensegrity, literally, through living tissue. I contemplate tissue as alive. I don't know a doctor who does. Because a doctor who contemplates tissue as alive believes the pericardium matters. Anybody who contemplates tissue, not you, tissue as alive is going to believe you when you describe the pain that you're in. The people who believe you, whether or not they're consciously aware of it, have an understanding that our tissue is not only responsive, it is itself alive, just like your heart, just like your lung. It is not something to cut through to get to the organ. Polarity is the factor that makes us have change, right? We have the North and South Pole. We have the spin of the earth. We have the experience of how we understand sun and moon, which is different than how other entities or other constellations or whatever would understand theirs, but however we understand that. Polarity is what happens when a zygote is formed and you get one fertilized cell. One fertilized cell, somehow that little swimmer makes its way to the Goblin City, and then a tiny, tiny, tiny little nuclear reaction occurs, fusion and fission, and then we have a fertilized cell that then does things like become two more, and then two more, and then more and more and more. That's exponential growth. That's amazing. Like Wu Wei, Wuwei, power with, which is the Merkaba that you can see through. Power with is the totality of all logic, all virtue, and all of the mechanics of anything in Taoist cosmology. I have gone back as far as 10,000 years, as far as I'm able to perceive. Wu Wei, effortless action of Taoism, is both living in harmony with your environment and setting things up so that they can grow on their own. Wu Wei is anytime you plant a garden and you're contemplating what zone you're in and what you're going to plant and how long does that take to happen and then when can I harp? That is all question. Those are all kinds of questions you would ask through Wu Wei. It's a very practical concept. It does not have to just be the Tao that can be named is not the Tao, the only trueness of the. I love reading that stuff too, but it can't, if it's all that impractical, why is it all still here? And how come I need to have a license if I want to give you herbs or use needles? Wu Wei is a principle from Taoism about aligning with your flow of life, not forcing or resisting. In neuroaffective somatics, Wu Wei can be seen as a teaching principle, encouraging us to find a rhythm in healing. It suggests that sometimes the most profound changes occur not through intense effort, but through releasing control. I'm not asking you to surrender to Dorothy, just saying like parts of how we are contemplating regulation and like feeling good are forced. Yes. So you're going to go get the Tao and the Art of Nervous System Resonance Regulation. It's only $17, and then you have all of the Shen already with you.